My brother told my son during Thanksgiving, "Your dad is a nobody. That's why you'll be a nobody too." My son is 8. He went quiet the rest of the night. At bedtime, he asked, "Dad, am I going to be nobody?" I tucked him in and said, "Nobody, but your uncle's about to learn what losing really feels like." The next day, I called the bank about the $180,000 business loan I'd guaranteed for him. Thanksgiving at my mom's house always smells like butter and old grudges. It was 8:27 p.m. when my brother Ryan decided to say the quiet part out loud. My son Ethan was 8 and sitting on a booster cushion at the kids' end of the table, twisting the paper napkin ring like it was a fidget toy. He'd been proud of his little button-up. He kept smoothing the collar like it mattered. Ryan had 2 beers in and that comfortable, loud confidence he gets when he thinks he's the smartest man in the room. "So, Mark," he said, carving turkey like he owned the bird. "How's what do you call it? The burger thing going?" "It's not a burger thing. It's a chain," I said, keeping it light. 3 locations. 4th opens in March. Mom smiled too fast. Dad stared at his plate like it might rescue him. Ryan snorted. "A chain? Sure." My sister-in-law, Kelsey, did that tiny laugh she does when she wants to be on the winning side but not on record. Ethan looked up. "Dad makes the best fries," he said, earnest. "He lets me taste the new seasonings." "That's cute," Ryan said, and his tone was already turning. "Hey, Ethan, you know why your dad likes fries so much?" Ethan blinked. "Why?" "Because it's the only thing he can control," Ryan said, grinning like he was about to do stand-up. I felt my hands go cold around my water glass. "Ryan," I warned, "quiet." He waved me off. "Relax. It's Thanksgiving." Then he leaned forward toward my kid like this was bonding. "Your dad is a nobody," he said, loud enough that the whole table heard it clean. "That's why you'll be a nobody too." The room did that thing where air disappears. Ethan's face didn't crumple. He didn't cry. He didn't yell. He just went still. He stopped twisting the napkin ring. He set it down carefully, like he didn't want to make noise. My brain started counting without asking permission. 8 adults, 2 kids, 1 sentence that I couldn't unhear. Mom's fork froze halfway up. Kelsey's smile slipped and then came back like a mask. Dad swallowed hard. Ryan sat back, satisfied like he'd said something true. I looked at my son. His eyes had gone shiny, but he didn't let anything fall. I didn't scream. I stood up, put my napkin on my plate, and said, "We're leaving." Mom hissed, "Mark, don't make a scene." I didn't look at her. I just reached for Ethan's small hand. He took it like it was a lifeline. At 9:42 p.m., I tucked Ethan into his bed at my apartment. He still hadn't talked much. He hugged his stuffed dinosaur tight enough to bend it. Then, in the dark, he asked the question like it hurt to say. "Dad," he whispered, "am I going to be nobody?" My mouth went dry. I sat on the edge of the bed and forced my voice to stay steady. "Nobody, you're not." He stared at the ceiling. Uncle Ryan said, I heard what he said. I cut in gently. Uncle Ryan was wrong. Ethan's lip trembled once. He swallowed it down. I smoothed his hair and said the truth I could live with. "Nobody," I told him, "but your uncle's about to learn what losing really feels like." And while my son breathed himself to sleep, I opened my laptop at the kitchen table and pulled up the one document I'd promised myself I'd never have to use. Personal guarantee agreement, $180,000. My name at the bottom. The next morning, I called the bank. "I'm Mark. I'm 36. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I own a small fast food chain called Northside Grill. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, fries, and a breakfast menu that prints money if staffing is handled right. I'm not flashy. I'm the guy who fixes the ice machine himself at 2 a.m. because the repair company wants $600 to show up and shrug. Ethan's mom, Jenna, left when he was 2. Not a dramatic story, just a quiet one. She wanted freedom, and I wanted my kid to have stability. We signed the papers. I got primary custody. She sends birthday texts and photos of beaches. My family pretends that makes me sad. Ryan treats it like proof that I failed a masculinity test. Ryan is 39, a real estate guy who sells lifestyle on Instagram and calls himself an entrepreneur because he owns a leased BMW and knows how to say portfolio. He also has a gift, saying something cruel in a reasonable voice. Don't be sensitive. I'm just being honest. You're overreacting. That's our family language. Smooth means Ryan gets what he wants. Family helps means Mark pays. I used to swallow it because my mom loves peace more than justice. Because I thought if I stayed polite, they'd eventually treat me like a person. I thought it was temporary. It wasn't. The pattern started small. Incident 1. Ethan was 4. Ryan's birthday. We were at a steakhouse. Ryan's friends were there. Men in quarter zips with loud laughs. Ethan spilled his water. Not a flood, just a kid spill. Ryan looked at him and said, "God, Mark, can your kid not be like that? People are watching." Ethan's shoulders went up like he was trying to shrink into his booster seat. I cleaned it up. I apologized. Ethan whispered, "I'm sorry, Daddy," like existing was a nuisance. I told myself Ryan was just stressed. Incident 2, Ethan was 6. My chain was doing well, but cash flow is a real thing when you're expanding. Ryan called me late. "I found a deal," he said. "A duplex. I just need a little bridge money. 2 months. Easy." I said no. He laughed like I'd told a joke. "Mark, come on. Family helps." Then Mom called the next day. Sweet voice. Casual. "Your brother is trying to build something. You don't want to hold him back, do you?" I wired $7,500 anyway. May 14th. I still have the transfer receipt. Ryan paid me back 5 months later and acted like I should thank him. Incident 3. Ethan was 7. Ryan came to one of my restaurants with Kelsey and their kids. He ordered loud, like it was a performance. When the teenage cashier misheard him, Ryan leaned over the counter and said, "Does your dad hire anyone with a brain? Or is that too expensive?" Ethan was standing beside me holding my hand. He didn't laugh. He stared at the floor. On the drive home, he said quietly, "Dad, why doesn't Uncle Ryan like you?" I had to blink hard at a red light so my kid wouldn't see my eyes. I told him, "Uncle Ryan has big feelings he doesn't know how to handle." But the truth was simpler. Ryan benefited from me being the lesser brother. If I was nobody, then he didn't have to feel like a fraud. And then, last year, he found a bigger lever, a business loan. Ryan wanted to open a boutique gym, high-end, membership model, passive income, every buzzword in a hoodie. But he had a problem. His credit was messy, his income was variable, and he'd already leveraged 2 properties. He came to my office, my actual office above Northside Grill number 1, on March 3rd, wearing that confident grin. "I need you to co-sign," he said, like he was asking me to taste test a milkshake. "I'm not doing that," I said immediately. He spread his hands. "It's not co-signing. It's just a guarantee, a formality. The bank wants comfort." "You want my name," I said, "so you can borrow money you can't qualify for." He leaned forward. "Mark, you own 3 restaurants. You're stable. I'm building something. Don't you want your nephew to see ambition?" I stared at him. "My son sees me work." Then he did the family thing. He brought Mom in. She showed up the next day with banana bread, like a bribe. "Ryan is trying," she said. "He's so excited, it would mean a lot." I said, "If he can't get the loan on his own, he shouldn't take it." Mom's eyes got shiny. "Why are you punishing him?" Punishing. That was the word that always made me feel guilty for having boundaries. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a glass-walled bank office while a loan officer slid paperwork across the table. $180,000 SBA-backed term loan. Ryan's signature. And mine on the personal guarantee. I remember my pen hovering. I remember thinking, Ethan needs stability. Ryan is family. Ryan will pay. I signed anyway. And for months, Ryan acted like I'd done something nice, not risky. Then the smooth language started again. "Don't worry, it's fine. Automatic payments. Until Thanksgiving. Until your dad is a nobody. Until my 8-year-old asked me if he was going to become nothing." That was the moment the guilt died. At 8:06 a.m. Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, I called First State Bank. "Hi," I said. "My name is Mark Donovan. I'm calling about a business loan I guaranteed. I need the current status." The woman on the phone asked security questions. I answered them like a robot. My throat felt tight. Then she said, "1 moment. I'm pulling it up." I stared at my kitchen table. Ethan's dinosaur was there beside a crayon drawing of our restaurant with a big sign that said Dad's Place. My phone clicked. "Okay," she said carefully. "Mr. Donovan, the loan is currently delinquent." My stomach dropped. "How delinquent?" I asked. "2 payments past due," she said. "We've sent notices to the primary borrower." "Ryan," I said flatly. "Yes, sir." I closed my eyes. "How much is the past due amount?" she told me. The number wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the calm tone. Like this was normal. "Has he responded?" I asked. "No, sir. Have you contacted me?" I said. "There is a note," she said, and I heard typing. "It indicates the guarantor requested email-only contact." I went very still. "I did not request that," I said. A pause. "One moment. More typing." Then, "The email on file for the guarantor is ryan.kelsey@" My hands went numb. "He changed my contact email," I said, and my voice didn't rise. It got colder. "I'm sorry, sir," she said. "That's what we have. Please put a note on the account," I said. "Effective immediately. All guarantor communications go to my phone and my email. I will provide them now." She took them. I repeated each letter like my life depended on it, because it did. Then I asked, "What happens if this continues?" She didn't threaten. She just explained. The bank could pursue the guarantor, me, my restaurants, Ethan's stability. I thanked her, because manners are a weird survival reflex, and hung up. Then I opened my laptop and started collecting receipts. My loan folder was already half built, but now it became a full-time job. I printed the personal guarantee with my signature, the loan statement showing delinquency, my original email chain with the loan officer, the screenshot of Ryan's text from September, Ryan, 9/12, 10:14 p.m., auto pay is set, chill. I also pulled my credit monitoring alerts. There it was. Notification, contact info changed on creditor account. Timestamp, October 28th, 2:33 p.m. While I was in the kitchen cooking Ethan mac and cheese, my brain counted again. 1 kid, 1 brother, 1 harmless change that could have wrecked my life. At 11:20 a.m., Ryan finally texted me, like nothing happened. "Ryan, heard you left early." Dramatic. I stared at it, then I typed 1 sentence. "Me, are you behind on the bank loan I guaranteed?" He took 9 minutes to answer. "Ryan, relax. It's a timing thing." Timing thing. I called him. He didn't pick up. I called again. Voicemail. So I called Kelsey. She picked up on the second ring, breathy. "Hey, Mark." "Kelsey," I said, "is Ryan behind on the loan?" A pause that told me everything. "Mark," she said softly, "it's being handled." "By who?" I asked. "Because the bank just told me it's delinquent, and he changed my email on the account." Her voice sharpened. "He didn't change it. He just updated it, so you wouldn't stress." I laughed once. No humor in it. "You thought the way to reduce my stress was to hide a delinquency from me?" "Don't do this," she said. "It's the holidays." "No," I said. "This is my livelihood." Then I did the thing I've learned to do when people start spinning. I asked for concrete facts. "What is the current balance?" I asked. "What is the past due amount? What date is the next payment scheduled? What date are you paying the delinquency?" Silence. Kelsey exhaled. "I don't have those numbers, so you're not handling it," I said calmly. "You're hoping," she snapped. "We're family, Mark." I looked at the printed guarantee on my table. "That's exactly why I'm calling," I said, "because family doesn't get to gamble with my kid's home." Then her tone changed into that reasonable cruelty. "Maybe you wouldn't be so stressed if you weren't, always acting like you're the only one working." I felt heat in my chest, but my voice stayed even. "I'm going to fix this," I said, "and you're not going to like how." She hung up. At 1:03 p.m., Mom called me. "Mark," she started, already sighing. "Ryan says you're attacking him." "I'm documenting," I said. "He's under pressure," she said. "He didn't mean what he said to Ethan." "He said it to an 8-year-old, I replied. At a table full of adults who said nothing. Mom tried again. "You know how your brother is." "Yes," I said. "That's why I'm done." She lowered her voice like she was bargaining with a cashier. "What do you want?" I stared at my son's drawing. I thought about his quiet face at Thanksgiving. I want my brother to stop using my life as a cushion, I said. Then I stopped arguing and started planning. That's when I stopped debating and started documenting. Monday morning, 9:15 a.m., I sat in a lawyer's office downtown. Her name was Dana Patel. She had the kind of calm face that makes other people's chaos look stupid. She reviewed the guarantee, the loan statement, the contact change alert, and the text screenshots. Then she looked up and said, "He changed the guarantor contact without your consent." "Yes," I said. "And he's delinquent," she said. "Yes, and you're exposed," she said, tapping the paper. "So we're going to stop being polite." Dana drafted a formal notice to Ryan. He must provide proof the delinquency is cured by a specific date. He must restore my contact information on all creditor accounts. He must provide the full loan account access credentials to the guarantor. If not, we pursue remedies, including a demand for immediate repayment and potential claims for fraud-related conduct. It wasn't a threat. It was clarity. Then Dana asked, "Do you have any leverage over him besides this guarantee?" I did. Ryan's gym business operated out of a commercial space owned by an LLC. The LLC's deposit and first month's rent came from a short-term loan I'd given him the previous spring, $22,000, with a signed promissory note he'd insisted was just to keep it clean. I had that note. I also had something else, because when Ryan got the bank loan, he needed a vendor line to outfit the gym, equipment financing, and he used my business reference to get approved faster. My chain supplier had called me at the time casually to confirm credibility. At the time, I'd confirmed. Now, I didn't owe him credibility. Dana looked at me. "You can't just yank the bank loan," she said, "but you can protect yourself and apply pressure legally." At 12:30 p.m., we sent the letter by certified mail and email. Subject line, "Notice of Default Risk, Personal Guarantee." At 1:07 p.m., my phone blew up. Ryan first. "Ryan, what is this?" I didn't answer. He called. I let it ring. Then, "Mom, Mark," she said, voice tight, "why did you get lawyers involved?" "Because he involved my kid," I said. "He's your brother," she snapped. "You're going to ruin him." I kept my voice flat. "He's ruining himself. I'm just removing my name from the blast radius." Then Ryan showed up. Of course he did. At 3:48 p.m., there was pounding on my apartment door so hard the peephole rattled. Ethan was at school. Thank God I didn't open it. Ryan shouted through the door, "Mark, open the door!" I stood behind the door with my phone recording audio. My hands shook, but my voice didn't. "Say what you need to say," I called through the door. "You can say it from there." "You're being insane," he barked. "You're trying to flex because you own some burger joints." I didn't react to the insult. I just asked the only question that mattered. "Are you delinquent on the loan?" I said. Silence. Then, "It's being handled." "Answer the question," I said. "Yes or no?" He snapped. "It's not your business." "It is literally my business," I said. Still calm. "My signature is on it." He kicked the bottom of the door. "You're always acting like you're better," he yelled. "You're a nobody, Mark. You just got lucky with fries and—" I closed my eyes. Then I said the boundary sentence, clean and simple. "You are not allowed to speak to my son again," I said, "and you are not allowed to use my name for credit again." He laughed sharp. "You can't stop me." I didn't argue. I just did the irreversible step. At 4:12 p.m., while Ryan was still outside rage-talking, I called the bank's risk department back, asked for the loan officer's supervisor, and initiated a formal dispute about unauthorized contact changes. I also requested written confirmation that my contact information was restored. All future notices would be sent directly to me. Any changes to guarantor info would require my verified consent. Then Dana filed a request for the full payment history and notices. Official paper makes people nervous. That's why it exists. When Ryan finally left, he didn't leave quietly. He texted me one last line. "Ryan, you're dead to me." I stared at it and felt something surprising. Relief. 2 days later, Ethan came home from school and dropped his backpack by the couch like he was trying to be casual. He hovered in the kitchen doorway while I cooked. "Dad," he said, not looking at me, "am I okay?" I turned off the stove and faced him fully. "You're more than okay," I said. "You're loved, you're safe, and nobody gets to label you." He nodded once, like he was storing it away. That night, we did our normal routine: homework, shower, 2 chapters of his dinosaur book. In the middle of reading, he asked quietly, "Are we still going to see Grandma?" "We'll see Grandma sometimes," I said, "but we're taking a break from Uncle Ryan." Ethan's eyes flicked up. "Because he was mean?" "Because he was unsafe with his words," I said. "And because I'm your dad." "My job is to protect your heart, too." Ethan exhaled like he'd been holding something. "Okay," he said. "Kids don't need speeches. They need consistency." Ryan tried one last tactic: the apology that isn't an apology. He sent a group text to me: "Mom, Dad, Kelsey." "Ryan, I'm sorry you took it that way. Mark is spiraling and trying to sabotage my business. Can we just move on for the kids?" I didn't respond with paragraphs. I responded with one sentence. "Me. All communication goes through my attorney." Mom called immediately, crying. "Mark," she said, "you're tearing the family apart." I looked at Ethan on the floor, building a Lego restaurant with tiny plastic fries. "No," I said softly. "Ryan did. I'm just refusing to pretend it's fine." She tried. "He's stressed. He didn't mean it." "I believe he meant it," I said. "And even if he didn't, Ethan still heard it." Then I added the final boundary, the one that made my voice stop shaking. "You don't get access to my child at the cost of his self-worth," I said. She went quiet, and for the first time in my adult life, I didn't rush to fill the silence. The bank situation didn't magically disappear. It became structured, documented, controlled. Ryan cured the delinquency within the deadline on Dana's letter, because fear is a better motivator than family guilt. He also stopped touching my contact information, because the bank now flagged the account with a note that required my verification. Did he learn kindness? No. But he learned consequences. And my son learned something more important: that his dad will stand between him and cruelty, even when the cruelty wears a family name. The moral is simple: love doesn't require you to tolerate disrespect. Access to my kid is not a family right, and if someone needs me to be nobody so they can feel like somebody, I'm not available for that.